Hello children, welcome back to the continuation of the lesson, The Portrait of a Lady. Already we have gone through learning of this lesson. The author Khushwant Singh portrays the character of his grandmother and shares his life experiences with her. He describes her to be an old woman with wrinkled face, slightly bent. Her silver locks were scattered entirely over her pale, puckered face. And also the author and his grandmother were good friends. He lived with her when his parents stayed in the city. She used to get him ready for school and accompany him to school and spent her day in the temple attached to school and brought him back home in the evening. She fed the street dogs with stale chapatis. Until here we have learned in the previous session. Now let's learn the sixth paragraph. As the years rolled by, we saw less of each other. For some time, she continued to wake me up and get me ready for school. When I came back, she would ask me what the teacher had taught me. I would tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, the world being round, etc. This made her unhappy. She could not help me with my lessons. She did not believe in the things they taught at the English school and was distressed that there was no teachings about God and the scriptures. She had nothing, but her silence meant disapproval. She rarely talked to me after that. So here, when they moved to the city and although stayed in the same room, his grandmother no longer accompanied him to school, and the author calls this change as a turning point in the friendship with his granny. In the city, when the author came back from school, the grandmother would ask him what the teacher had taught him. The author would tell her English words and little things of Western science and learning, the law of gravity, Archimedes' principle, the world being round, etc. The granny did not like all that and became unhappy. She could not help him in his lessons. She did not believe in the things they taught at the English school and was in distress as there was no teaching about God and the scriptures. And she said nothing, but her silence meant disapproval. And from that time onwards, she was very rarely talked with the author. Here, gravity means the force that attracts a body towards the center of the earth or towards any other physical body. And Archimedes' principles means Archimedes means a Greek mathematician who invented one of the fundamental concepts of physics. And next we learn the seventh paragraph. When I went up to university, I was given a room of my own. The common link of friendship was snapped. My grandmother accepted her seclusion with resignation. She rarely left her spinning wheel to talk to anyone. From sunrise to sunset, she sat by her wheel, spinning and reciting prayers. Only in the afternoon, she relaxed for a while to feed the sparrows. While she sat in the veranda, breaking the bread into little bits, hundreds of little birds collected round her, creating a veritable bedlam of chirrupings. Some came and perched on her legs, but she never shooed them away. It used to be the happiest hour of the day for her. Here the author says, when he went up to university, he was given a single room. and the common link of friendship between the author and the grandmother was snapped. And she also accepted her seclusion with resignation. And while in staying the city house, the grandmother would spend her afternoons sitting in veranda to feed the sparrows. She would break bread into little bits, and hundreds of little birds collected round her, creating a veritable bedlam of chirruping. Some came and perched on her legs, but she never shooed them away. It used to be the happiest half an hour of the day for her. The next paragraph, when I decided to go abroad for further studies, I was sure my grandmother would be upset. I would be away for 5 years, and at her age, one could never tell. But my grandmother could. She was not even sentimental. She came to leave me at the railway station but did not talk or show any emotion. Her lips moved in prayer. Her mind was lost in prayer. Her fingers were busy telling the beads of her rosary. Silently, she kissed me, my forehead, and when I left, I cherished the moist imprint as perhaps the last sign of physical contact between us. When the author decided to go abroad for 5 years, he thought his grandmother will be upset. But here, the grandmother was not showing any emotional reactions. She was an affectionate lady who loved her family, especially the author. And she was pious and believed in prayers. She kept on praying and telling beads all the time, though engaged in her daily course. She welcomed every change with a smile, but never gave up her prayers. Next paragraph. But that was not so. After 5 years, I came back home and was met by her at the station. She did not look a day older. She still had no time for words, and while she clasped me in her arms, I could hear her reciting her prayers. Even on the first day of my arrival, her happiest moments were with her sparrows, whom she fed longer and with frivolous rebukes. Here, clasped means place your hand tightly, and frivolous means not having any serious purpose or values. Rebukes means express sharp disapproval or criticism because of their behavior or actions. Here, after 5 years, when the other, returned home, he found his granny in the same condition. She looked the same. She welcomed him, clasping him in her arms, reciting prayers. On the first day of his arrival, she spent time with him and her sparrows, feeding them. 10th paragraph. In the evening, a change came over her. She did not pray. She collected the women of the neighborhood, got an old drum, and started to sing. For several hours, she thumped the sagging skins of the dilapidated drum and sang of the homecoming of the warrior. We had to persuade her to stop to avoid overstraining. That was the first time since I had known her that she did not pray. Sagging means sink downwards gradually under weight or pressure or through. Dilapidated means old and in bad condition. Persuaded means use reasoning or argument to make someone do or believe something. The next paragraph. The next morning she was taken ill. It was a mild fever, and the doctor told us that it would go. But my grandmother thought differently. She told us that her end was near. She said that since only a few hours before the close of the last chapter of her life, she had omitted to pray. She was not going to waste any more time talking to us. Here, in the evening, grandmother did not pray but played drum and sang songs with the neighbor woman in celebration of his arrival. That was the first day she missed her prayers. And the next morning she was taken ill with mild fever. She told that her end was near. She lay peacefully in bed, praying and telling her beads, and passed away peacefully. The 12th paragraph. We protested, but she ignored our protest. She lay peacefully in bed, praying and telling her beads. Even before we could suspect, her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. A peaceful pallor spread on her face, and we knew that she was dead. Pallor means an unhealthy, pale appearance. The next one, the sun was setting and had lit her room and veranda with a blaze of golden light. We stopped halfway in the courtyard, all over the veranda and in her room, right up to where she lay dead and stiff wrapped in the red shroud. Thousands of sparrows sat scattered on the floor. There was no chirping. We felt sorry for the birds, and my mother fetched some bread for them. She broke it into little crumbs the way my grandmother used to, and threw it at them. The sparrows took no notice of the bread. When we carried my grandmother's corpse off, they flew away quietly. Next morning, the sweeper swept the bread crumbs into the dustbin. Here, as the sun was setting, while she lay dead with a stiff wrap in the red shroud, thousands of sparrows sat scattered on the floor without any chirruping. Though bread pieces were spread for them, the sparrows took no notice of them. When the corpse of Granny was taken off, they flew away quietly, leaving the bread pieces as they were. So from the lesson we learned that the author's grandmother was an affectionate lady who loved her family, especially the author, and she was a pious and believed in prayers. She kept on praying and telling beads all the time, though engaged in her daily course. She welcomed every change with a smile, but never gave up her prayers. She enjoyed serving and caring for the other. She was compassionate towards animals and enjoyed feeding them. She fed hundreds of sparrows with utmost care, and that was the only time she felt relaxed and happy. She always remained peaceful and never showed anger or disappointment to anybody. The graceful life she had led, and she was having the peaceful mind and heart. By this, we stop the lesson. Children, go through repeated reading to help you to understand more better, and do the exercise properly and learn the lesson. Thank you. Have a meaningful day.